I am Nick Shell, the self-help hacker, a man who is passionate and eager to share what I have learned in my life with those who haven't learned it yet. I'd rather you learn it so much quicker and at a younger age than me. When I was your age, YouTube probably wasn't even around, and there definitely wasn't a guy like me eager to mentor random people on the internet who had ears to hear. This is an important perspective in life that I think that we need to have. And that is, in theory, every 5 years, you become a new person. Now, granted, we could say that every year, and I would agree, but specifically, if we measure in our life by increments of 5 years, with me being 38, we just divide your age by 5, and that's going to kind of tell you how many different versions of you that you've kind of experienced by now. Like, for example, with me being 38, what was I doing 5 years ago? Who was I 5 years ago? Well, 5 years ago I was 33, and I still had not yet understood really the concept of emotional intelligence. I'd heard about it, but I didn't really understand it. That's the whole point of this channel, by the way. This is a better understanding of emotional intelligence and me giving specific examples of ways that have helped me so that I can help you with that. So, for example, when I was 33, I did not yet know that I get to decide who hurts my feelings and disrespects me and offends me. That's always a choice, but I didn't know that. So people could offend me and disrespect me and hurt my feelings. I let them because I didn't realize I was the one controlling that. I also didn't realize that there's something called victim mentality versus victory mindset. You can see yourself as a victim, and you totally are if that's how you see yourself. But if you think, wait, I can figure out a way around this, there's other people who have figured this out and overcame this, I can do that too. And it's a matter of just more of an abundance mindset. Instead of, someone who's a victim, for example, is going to be criticizing someone and saying what's wrong, blaming other people. Someone who's living victoriously is going to say, I want to help other people. I'm not here to insult people, criticize. I want to help people. And it's okay if they share their hurt with me. A lot of time, hurt people. So if they say something that seems rude, it's probably a reflection of what they're going through right now, and they don't know how to express that. They don't have someone to talk them through it, and that's why they lash out at me. See, that's someone who I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know that stuff at 33. It wasn't until I hit 35. So I was by default a different person. I was also, because of my lack of emotional intelligence at 33, I was also more of a high conflict personality. I was eager to prove people wrong that I perceived as wrong. That was way before I understood what tribalism was all about. How we put ourselves in arbitrary groups and look down on people that we fundamentally agree with. Oh, well, politically I don't agree with them, so they're stupid and ignorant and wrong. Or they're the wrong religion, or they have no religion, or whatever. Oh, the wrong sports team? Yeah, I hate them. All that stupid stuff. I wasn't aware. So I would look down on people that weren't like me and didn't see. So for example, back then, that was about the time I became a vegan. Now, granted, I stopped being a vegan like well over a year and a half ago. But back when I was a vegan, and back before I was pre-age 35, and I'm ashamed of this now. The only joy that comes out of telling you this is to say that I'm not that same person anymore. That was the version of me before this version. So I would go, this is so lame. I would go on Facebook and I would make memes basically mocking people for, eating meat or drinking milk from a cow or eating eggs, and it was really in poor taste that I did that. I'm ashamed of that. I could tell you all kinds of stories from different ages in my life that I'm so ashamed of the way I reacted. Granted, I didn't know better at the time. I know a lot better now. So while I am very ashamed of those things that I've done, again, we could go through every 5-year block and I could tell you something to incriminate myself. And I've barely shared anything incriminating at this point, but trust me, I've done and said worse than that. And I like to disassociate myself from 5 years ago, where I am today. And I recognize 5 years from now, there's a lot of things in my life that I will want to disassociate myself, this version. But I accept, though, that as long as every 5 years I truly am changing for the better and learning more, always learning, how can I improve myself? How can I be a self-help hacker, not only to myself, but other people? Because when we're helping other people, we're becoming better people ourselves. It's that much easier and natural to live out these life hacks. So it is interesting to think how many versions. I mean, I could go through everything like, wow, I just disassociate my modern self from all of those stupid things I did and said. But I think to some degree, when you don't know better, it's different. And when you start knowing better, then the only shame is to keep living that way when you know better, right? So I think there can only be so much shame involved in all that. But ultimately, it's a matter of knowing. In the same way, we're not the same people we were 5 years ago. Neither are probably the other people. Imagine for me, I've been out of high school for over 20 years. I went to my 20th high school reunion last summer in 2019. And imagine if in that room, 100 people, however many were there, we went around and said, hey, remember that really dumb, kind of mean thing you did? Imagine if we did that. Imagine if we reduce each other to the dumbest, stupidest, immature stuff we did from 20 years ago. Well, that would be very uncool, I mean, for one. But imagine if that's only the way we saw other people, is by judging them on worse versions of themselves before they had a chance to mature or grow out of it, because we were really dumb when we were not even adults yet. But that's often how it happens. And I'm eager to always be learning how to improve myself. You know, I'm looking forward to all the future episodes that I haven't yet written down on sticky notes that I haven't quite learned yet, or maybe that I'm going through right now. So I think we need to accept that about ourselves. We're not the same people we were 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We're not the same people. As long as we're growing and maturing, we're becoming better people than we were. Granted, undeniably, there are some things that maybe were better about us in the past. And maybe it's a matter of life beats you down and you're trying to get back to that version of yourself. So by all means, in the same way there's things we're ashamed of about our past, there's things that we probably miss about our past, about our own selves, you know, because life does kind of, the more you live it, kind of shakes your hope a little bit, kind of wears you out a little bit. And you wish you could be maybe more positive or more innocent-minded about how the world works. It's some time, and it's a balance. But I think it is important to notice that about ourselves. We are constantly evolving as people, and so is everybody around us. So we can't be too hard on ourselves from 5 or 10 years ago. In the same way, we can't assume that whoever that person is, that they're the same tacky, immature, hurtful person or whatever they were from back then. We have to assume that people have changed and people have grown up, because we wouldn't want them to assume that we haven't changed either. And it's funny because I'm thinking now, what would the future version of myself tell me now at age 38? You know, what will the 43, almost 44-year-old version tell me? And what about when I'm 50? And what about when I'm 55? What will I tell myself? I'm very eager to learn those things. And I make it a point in my life to ask people older than me, you know, especially now that I started this series. I'm proactively asking people, what would you tell the 38-year-old version of yourself? And I say, here's in a nutshell what I've learned that I wish I would have known, but what else do I need to know now? So it's very important that we remain open-minded to learning how to improve this version of ourselves, so that by the time we get 5 years into the future, we can say, man, I'm glad I'm not that person I was. Just like 5 years from now, if I look back on this video, thinking, man, I wish I would have known, ... I'm very glad you're here. Keep in mind, I love helping people. I love hearing from you. And if there's something I can try to help you figure out better based on my life experience, because that's what it comes down to. What makes a person wise? Ultimately, I think a lot of it is life experience. It comes down to me being able to be so much more decisive than I was before. Because even if I don't know the exact answer, usually I can take an educated guess based on something I've experienced, based on a failure that I've experienced, or a success, or simply a risk I took and learned from. And every 5 years of life, you're going to have that many more failures and successes. And I think that often leads to the ability to help other people. because of all of the stupid things about me from every previous 5 years that I've lived, every 5-year version of me. Keep in mind, I love the comments. I'm a libertarian. I support the free market, free speech. Say whatever you need to. I feel like I don't even need to say this anymore, but if you were to leave a destructive comment, ultimately that's a reflection of you. People who are insecure and don't have their identity figured out are the first to criticize other people. And they're really just begging for help, waving, saying, hey, I need help. I don't know how to speak. I don't know who to talk to. I don't have anybody. And so they don't know how to deal with it. They're not there yet. They're maybe much more 5 years behind than some of the others. But I've noticed on these series, I don't really have people doing like that, like I would have for all my other videos that I talk about. So I think what I'm doing is I'm drawing a more selective crowd, and I'm happy. I'm so happy to have much less people watching my videos, but getting to truly share my heart and talk about things I actually care about, not things I don't care about or don't want to talk about. And I think that should be my very next video. So I'm going to film that right after this. Your comments right here.